taking on Magnus Carlsen in the third round of the World Blitz Championships 2025. And there comes Magnus. This is going to be super exciting. Whenever Magnus takes on someone who's young and talented, it promises to be an excellent fight. They don't get to play Magnus very often, and so the World Rapid and Blitz proves to be an ideal playing grounds. The players shake hands. Daniel opens the game with pawn to e4 and Magnus goes for the Sicilian. Knight to c3, the knight comes out to c6, and now Daniel pauses a bit. He can play knight f3 and take it back to normal lines, but he goes bishop b5 and Magnus jumps in with his knight, attacking the bishop. Sometimes they even give up this bishop by playing knight f3, but here Daniel plays a4, and now if you take here ab5 and the rook opens up, so taking this bishop is not a good idea. Let's see what Magnus does here. It seems like a position that Magnus hasn't really prepped in depth here. a6, bishop goes back to d3, and now e6 played, opening up the bishop. Now notice how Magnus is trying to build his position. Daniel threatens to take and bring his knight back. So Magnus brings his knight back, saying that your bishop on d3 is not so great, well placed. Castles, and now there's a move g5 that's very aggressive, and maybe Magnus is thinking about it. Should he go like g5, h5, g4? But look at his pieces, they aren't developed. Meanwhile, white has gotten out all his pieces almost castled. It's true that the bishop on d3 isn't well placed. Pawn to d6 played by Magnus. He's trying to just build a safe position, not bringing out his pieces very quickly. If rook e1 played, the bishop comes out. He's not bringing out his knight yet, because maybe the knight could come here. Maybe there's g5 in the air. There are many possibilities. I think the best idea for Daniel is to go bishop f1 and play pawn to d4. That makes the most sense. He goes back bishop f1, and here's Magnus's plan. He's like, I'm not going to allow you to play d4 so easily. I'm going to play my bishop to f6. That's a very interesting move. It's a challenging move for Daniel, and Daniel says, I will play d4, Magnus. Knight to e7, and now you can push forward with d4. But Daniel goes knight g3. He wants to go to the h5 square. Very interesting chess here. Will Magnus push his pawn to h5 to take away that square? And Magnus is like, well, what the hell? I'm going for it. h5 played. And now h3, a good move, because the threat is h4, h3 to just weaken the entire king side of white. So maybe h3, so that if h4 is played, you can come back. But clearly, Daniel's move knight g3 might not have been the best one. He plays pawn to c3, and his idea is clear. He wants to go d4, but Magnus pushes, knight goes back, and now h3 is a good move, softening up the king side. If you play g3, I'll play e5 to open up my bishop to come here. So that's the reason why now Daniel has to decide, does he want to go g3, weakening the light squares a bit, or does he want to go d4? He goes d4. The main problem now is the rook opens up on the h file. Bishop g2, pawn takes pawn, and Magnus already has an excellent position. e5 could be a threat. So just, knight to g6 played. Bishop comes out to e3. And now pawn to e5. Push forward. d5 is an important move. You have to play d5 here. I mean, what else? Once you play d5, I think the position remains complex. And Daniel has 1 minute 35 seconds. He goes knight c3. That's a blunder, because now you can simply take, and queen h4, and it's game over. But Magnus doesn't find it. He plays bg4. Not at his sharpest best is Magnus Carlsen. He pins here, and taking here would have given him such a winning position. Now Daniel can close down the position with d5. It's important for him to do that. Just look at this. The rook open here. The queen could enter in. But black king is in the center. So if somehow things open up, it could be helpful. Now Daniel is thinking d5, the black knight will jump to d4. Am I ready to meet it? He has 1 minute on the clock. Oh, he's hesitating. He pushes forward and Magnus can go back. It's also a decent move, but he can also come forward. And the point of all this is knight d4. You can't take with the knight, it's pinned, so you must take with the bishop. Pawn takes and the knight is attacked. If you move the knight away, I have bishop e5 attacking here with the rook, and as we all know, the queen is ready to enter in after bishop takes knight. So all of this makes Daniel's position very dicey. But you can see Magnus also taking a lot of time here. He takes the pawn in his hand. He's like, should I go back? It's nice position. Should I come forward? The rook will open up against my king. Is there some danger? He plays it. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and now Daniel has the move ready. e5, beautiful move. I mean, even if Magnus is better, this is in the spirit of the position. You have to play it. Knight takes pawn, and now knight takes knight. That's a very interesting move, because if bishop takes queen, you have knight c6, discovered check, and you win the queen. And then it's all a mess. Who has taken more pieces? You have to count it. Knight takes knight. Magnus has to chop off the queen. Knight c6 check, and you have to decide between king d7 or king f8. Both moves actually look pretty decent. He's ready with king f8, perhaps. He's thinking about it. Magnus has 40 seconds. Daniel as well, the same amount of time. So you're calculating king f8, knight d8, take the knight, take the bishop. Actually at this point, 1, 2, 3, white is a piece up after taking the queen. So king f8 takes the queen, and so Magnus takes back the piece. Now it's equal pieces on the board. Takes here again a piece down, equal pieces. Pawn takes, and now bishop c3. Black is a pawn up, but opposite colored bishops on the board. He goes rook e4, and bishop e5 makes a lot of sense to put pressure on this pawn. He goes b5. Magnus is like, I'll play my pawn to b4 and I'll create a passer, but look at Magnus's expression. He is not so happy where things have headed here. Bishop f1, trying to put pressure on the b5 pawn. And he plays his bishop back to e5. Maybe h3 is a good move. He takes on b5. Pawn takes pawn. And now, do you want to take here on b5 or do you want to save your h2 pawn? That's the big question. Daniel, tough decisions to make. h3, he tries to save the pawn. A good decision. Bishop c3, played by Magnus. And now, if you take on b5, otherwise he'll play b4. He takes it. Rook h3 taken. Black is a pawn up here. King g2. He brings back his rook, keeping pressure on the d5 pawn. And Daniel Darda can now just plonk his bishop on c6. It'll be slightly out of the game, but it'll defend the pawn. g6 played by Magnus. Now this is the phase of the game where Magnus's moves simply flow. You can keep the rook on the board with a check, but he takes the rooks. King takes and rook b8. A good move, activating the rook. Good chances for white to draw this perhaps. Rook e2. The bishop comes back to d4. King g2. King g7, rook d2, he brings his rook to b4, both players down to almost 10 seconds on the clock. Rook a2, the bishop drops back to c5, king comes up, g5 played, he's starting to push his kingside pawns. Rook comes to e2, offering a trade here is what he wants to do. Magnus brings his king up, king to g3 played, he gives a check, pawn to f3, he pushes forward, bishop comes to d4, wants to give a check from here. Magnus maneuvering his pieces so beautifully, exquisite play here. f5 brings his pawn up, and now all of a sudden he's winning. g4, maybe an excellent move here. He finds it, he plays it, takes, pawn takes, rook here attacking the bishop. He brings his rook to d3, bishop comes back, check, king g3, king g5, and now it's a mate here. Daniel Darda is like, oh, this is done, I think I'm losing here. But bishop e2, a great resource, because if you take the bishop, I'll take the bishop. He takes, rook takes, check, king f2, rook check, king g2. Is this a drawn rook and pawn endgame? We have Jan Nepomniachtchi coming in and watching the game from the distance. King e4 brings the king in, And Magnus, maybe he has rook d3 on his mind, rook d2, rook d3 played, and look at him. He looks at Nepo, shakes his head. Let's look at it in slow motion. He looks there, plays rook d3, shakes his head, and he's like, whoa, that was tough. And Nepo is like, yeah, you got this, buddy. And rook a2, king takes d5, he takes the pawn, rook comes up, pawn to g3, and Magnus Carlsen now with 2 pawns up, he should win this game. Rook h4, rook e3, and Magnus wins. What a game this was. Magnus shakes his head because it could have been easier in the opening itself. He had a completely winning position, but then it became so complex. Daniel Darda defended so brilliantly. He gave up his pieces, he gave up material, he made Magnus's task as difficult as he could, and in the end, Magnus managed to find a way to win a great battle here that we witnessed.